What is going on, guys? Lately I've been having a lot of questions about Kindred builds and why I build certain things and all that kind of stuff. So thought I'd do a quick little guide on what to build when. Just gonna do this through the league item set things. I have my own item set right here if you want to take a look at it, but I'm just gonna make a new one. It's gonna be similar to this one, but I'm gonna explain my thought process, why I have everything here, what I build when, and that kind of stuff. So you can just do this very easily. You can just set this to a certain champion. So now it's on Kindred, only for Summoner's Rift, and then you can just start dragging things in and that kind of stuff. So starting items are always gonna be machete. Just gonna call everything like starting items. It's always gonna be machete. If you're going for the Manamune build, I'm not gonna include this in include that in this video. But if you're going Talisman, Manamune is better. Like, that's the only reason why you would build Talisman if you're going for that, but you'd have to plan that out, like in Champ Select, because of the presence of Mind and that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to go in depth about Manamune. I have a video on it if you want to check it out. It's a decent build. I don't really like it myself though, but I'll just link it to the top right of the screen if you want to check that out. So I'm not going to talk about that. You always want refillable. This is just standard stuff. Like, this is way more gold efficient than buying normal potions. And then what I always do, just build drink or the ward first. What you'll see me do in a lot of videos is the little warding trick that I do. So I just go and ward the enemy jungle, get vision with my W, that kind of stuff, and then I recall and buy a sweeper. If you haven't seen me do that, I do it in almost all my videos, so I recommend checking some of them out. I go in depth on why I do that too, so if you want some more info about that, that's where you should go. So yeah, just place trinket, recall, and buy a sweeper. These are always my starting items. Moving on, we just go to the first items, like the first full items that you should complete. Never go blue smite on Kindred, it's just not good. You usually don't really need the help to chase down enemies, and you already have Nimbus Cloak, so you're gonna like be faster anyway if you smite. So always go red smite. Usually I'd go warrior, like 90% of my games. Blood Razor is somewhat good. I'll just explain it real quick. Like, warrior is way better early game, because it deals a lot of burst damage. Blood Razor is a lot better late game, that's true, but if you're snowballing, like if you get 1 or 2 early kills, 90% of the times I go warrior, unless the enemy has like a lot of tanks which stack health. Even if the enemy has like 2 tanks, let's say a Rammus jungle and a Scion top, and I got like a few, like 1 or 2 early kills, I would still go for warrior, and I'll explain that in a bit why, because that has to do with my next item. Blood Razor is good if you're behind a bit, and if they have, I'd say, like 3 or more tanks that stack health, mostly like Zac. Blood Razor is actually very good against Zac, against Sejuani, Volibear, those kind of champions that build Warmog's, that kind of stuff. But 90% of my games I go warrior, just because I explained, just snowball. So that's that. If we talk about boots, we have 3 options. So we have Tabis, Merc Treads, and rarely I'd go Greaves. I'll explain why in a bit, because you'll see me do it in a lot of vids, but I'll explain why. So yeah, Ninja Tabi is very good against a lot of AD. If you read the effect, and it gives armor, that kind of stuff, so it's kind of makes sense to go Tabi if they have a lot of AD. I would just recommend building Tabi if they have like an AD mid, Yasuo, Talon, Zed, an AD jungle, and like a normal AD carry, nothing like Syndra borders, like that kind of stuff. Even if they have 1 AP, like an AP bot laner, it doesn't matter. Like, if they have like 2 assassins or that kind of stuff, you always go Tabi, you don't go Mercs. So that's pretty much makes sense to go Tabi. Talk about Merc Treads. It's good because it gives MR, but why I usually build it is because of if you read it, it reduces the duration of a lot of CC by 30%. So I would usually build this if the enemy, even if they have 1 AP, like let's say they have a Syndra mid, she has a stun, right? So it's good to build Mercs, because not only are you getting magic resist, so she won't one-shot you as easily, but you're getting 30% resist to that stun, and they will most likely have like another champion with RCC. Let's say they have a Nautilus support that's Mercs are super good against him too, because if you didn't know, Nautilus actually deals AP damage. Like, he doesn't really deal damage, but the damage that he does is AP. And he has a stun, a snare, and a knock-up. So that's all gonna help, or the effect on Merc Treads is gonna help against that a lot. So even if they only have 1 AP, but they have like 2 champs with hard CC, Mercs is usually the best option. Especially early on, because that magic resist and also that armor from Tabby is gonna help you a lot. So after your jungle item, always build full boots. So Berserker Greaves, I don't build them a lot anymore. I used to do a lot on lower elo, because you can get away with it real easy. If you know how to kite, that kind of stuff, it helps you snowball a lot harder than the other 2 boots. But only the attack speed, it's okay, but late game you're gonna need some resistance, and these boots just give way more value. So I would only build this if I'm like extremely fed or in lower elo. But if, like, when I play in lower elo, I'm smurfing, so then I know what I'm doing. I win like 99% of my games anyway, so I can get away with it. But if you don't feel confident in your kiting abilities, that kind of stuff, these 2 boots will help you out a lot more. Even if you build warrior into one of these boots, you might think you lack attack speed. Doesn't matter, because these boots help you survive, and you are not gonna deal damage if you're dead anyway. So that's that. So these would be my first full items. Moving on. Okay, so these are main items, I'll call it. Okay, Bork is a, like, I go it in like pretty much all of my games right now, because it got buffed recently too. And it's just a very good item. AD, attack speed, lifesteal, it helps a lot on Kindred, and the active is also very nice to chase down or escape. And here is where it comes in, your power spike. If you build warrior into one of these boots, you think you lack attack speed, but you don't really, because you get a lot of attack speed from Bork. Like, you can go Bork as your only attack speed item into like MR or something else. So this is a very good item on Kindred. I build it like 99% of my games, I would say. It just gives you so much damage early on. It gives you a lot of chase potential, and it's very good against tanks. That's why I don't really like Blood Razor a whole lot, because Blade of the Ruined King does a similar thing. It just deals, where is it? Yeah, basic attacks deal 8% of the target's current health as bonus physical damage on hit. So the more health the target has, the more damage you're gonna deal. It's not max health, but if like you're playing against something like a Zac and he's full health, your first few autos are gonna hit for a lot of damage. So that's why I always build this. Even if the enemy doesn't have tanks, it's still very good, because it deals a crap ton of damage, and the active is very good against squishies to chase them down. So I would recommend trying this item a few times, and it's super good. Right after that, it depends really. If the enemy have a lot of, okay, let me just say we're at 3 items right now, so we need 3 more. If the enemy has a lot of AP, you could go either Wit's End. This scales better than Maw. Like, there's only 2 options really on Kindred if you want to build MR. I'll talk about Scimitar with the QSS later. If the enemy has a lot of AP and you don't feel safe that you're gonna survive, like, let's say they have a lot of one-shot champs like Syndra, Silas, Echo, that kind of stuff, I would just go straight after your Bork into defensive, because these still give you a lot of damage and they're just gonna help you survive. If you want 1v9 games, you just have to survive. You can't really build let's say Infinity Edge after Blade of the Ruined King if they have like 2 or more AP. I would recommend building Wit's End if the game is going to late game. Can I check the effect? Yeah, so it deals 10 to 80 magic damage on hit while below half health. Heal for 33% of the champions. Yeah, you just heal for 30% of the damage you're doing. And this actually scales per level. So this item, the later the game goes, the stronger it is, because it's going to heal you for a lot. That's why I really like the item. Now, if you're against very bursty mages, as I just talked about, like Syndra and Echo, that kind of stuff, Maw is usually better. Just build the early Hex Drinker because of the shield it gives you. Yeah, that's basically it. That's how I see it. If I don't feel threatened that I'm gonna get absolutely one shot, I go Wit's End, because it also gives me attack speed and that kind of stuff. And the healing from your auto attacks and that kind of stuff is super good on Kindred too. But if they have a lot of burst, I go Hex Drinker. So that's that. Now you don't have a lot of options against if you're against a lot of AD, so Tab is very good then. What you could do after this is just go into a Phantom Dancer. See me do that sometimes too, because of the shield it gives you against physical damage. Plus it gives you a lot of good stats, right? Attack speed is good, critical strike is very good, and the movement speed, because Zio recently got buffed. It went from 5% movement speed to 7% movement speed. It might seem like a small change, but it actually adds up pretty nicely. So that's a good option too. If I would just build any of these three if you're like going even with the enemy. If you're not super hard snowballing, any of these three is very good. Now, if you're, let's say, like 10-0 at this point and you just complete your Borg, Runan's gonna be your best option. This just helps you 1v9 super hard. Like, again, the Zio buffs, but on the Runans, it actually already had 7% movement speed. When you fully completed, that actually got buffed by 2% too. So Runans is the item that gives you most movement speed out of any Zio item. And it's underestimated, but that 2% movement speed is actually very, very good. So building an early Zio after your Borg is like a super good option to snowball and carry. So yeah, that's what I would do. Just build these warrior into one of these 2/3 boots. This is very optional. Borg always, I would say, and then you just build any of these because what I just explained against MR and against AD champs. Let's say you went, like you're snowballing super hard and you went for Borg into Runans, you still need 2 items to complete. If you're against a lot of AP, even if, like, just go one of these two after Runans, as I what just explained. Like, if the enemies have a lot of burst, go Maw. If the enemies, or if you feel pretty safe against their AP and want to scale harder, go Wit's End. Then you'll sit at 5 items, and then, like, these are very optional, everything that I'm gonna give right now, so we can go GA. Just gonna call this like optional /situational. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some items in here that like depend on what the game, on how the game goes and that kind of stuff. So I would always build a Guardian Angel as my last item if I want to just stay alive. Rush a stopwatch. It's very good for late game. Like, remember, we're sitting at 5 items if we go by what I just said, like warrior into one of these 2 boots, then you build Borg and you go Runans if you're snowballed. So we just need one more item. Yeah, one more item, because you also will need one of these 2 most likely 90% of your games. Even if the enemy only has 1 AP, it's still worth to build this just to be completely safe against that one target. Even if they're not fed, build this. It's gonna give you offensive stats anyway, so you're gonna just stomp your way through them. Okay, so on the optionals, go GA if you don't feel safe yet, even though you build some MR. If you didn't build a Phantom Dancer and they still have a lot of AD/assassins, if you don't feel safe, even with your ult, go GA. Just speaks for itself. The reroll it gives you can really help you in turnaround fights. Also, it stalls in fights, so it's very good. If they have a lot of CC, go QSS, and then you just complete that into a scimitar. So you if they have a lot of CC, you'll already build Merc Treads, because what I just explained, right? But if you still are getting hard CC'd, because the enemy champs or the enemy team can have like 5 CC champs, QSS is also good. I don't usually build it because most of the hard CCs in the game you can actually sidestep / Q auto them, that kind of stuff. But if they have point and click CCs like a Malzahar, QSS is like needed against those 2 champs. Sejuani also, that kind of stuff. So those 2. Let's save this and go to my original item build, see if I missed anything. I don't think so. Why, of course I did. Build Black Cleaver if even with Borg Crush into a Black Cleaver, if the enemies are stacking a lot of armor, Let's say they have a Rammus jungle that he doesn't necessarily build a lot of health, but he still be healthy late game, so Blade is super good. But he usually just rushes Thornmill, that kind of stuff, a lot of just base armor. Go Black Cleaver to shred that armor, it's very good. I have an Infinity Edge here, I rarely build it, because like none of my games really go to late game where I get 6 items anyway, but I just think Rune Ants it gives you more value for the gold that you're spending, so I would never rush Infinity Edge in higher elo. Stormrazor, it's very situational. Again, I don't really build it anymore, but sometimes I will if I'm really struggling to kite champions like an Irelia or Zeg that can really get on top of you, that kind of stuff. Mortal Reminder is actually very good to talk about. Executioners cancels healing. It's a very, very strong item. Like, it's necessary against certain team comps. I would always build it if the enemy has like a Yumi support, a Nami, especially against Soraka, just any type of healing. And if the enemy team has a lot of Conqueror champs, like an Irelia top and a Diana mid with Conqueror, it's still worth to build this, like for sure. As early as possible, honestly. I would just build it after your Warrior, get your tier 1 boots, and then build Executioners if you have the gold for it. If you're behind and starved on gold, you can delay it a bit, tell your teammates to buy it though. But I would get it as soon as possible. Maybe if you're behind, you complete your Warrior, complete your boots to survive, and then go Executioners before you build any item, because it gives way too much value. And then completing Mortal Reminder, just leave it at the Executioners for the first for like the first half of the game. You don't want to rush into Mortal Reminder because it shreds armor, yes, but at the early stages of the game the enemies won't have a lot of armor anyway, so just build this as your last item, keep the Executioners in your inventory. So all these items just talked about. Consumables, I just have control words here. Wouldn't really recommend buying a whole lot of them in lower elo because it's still 75 gold. People don't really ward a whole lot, but if you have the gold for it, just you can do it, ward bushes to your advantage, that kind of stuff. And for elixirs, you always just want to go lifesteal elixir. So I think I covered pretty much everything that I always do in terms of items against heavy AP and against heavy AD. So moving on to my runes, what I would recommend, this is my standard Kindred page, what I go in like 99% of my games. Press the attack is also a viable option. I just think Conqueror scales a lot better, and it's way more clutch in like early skirmishes if you know how to position yourself well, where you can just free stack Conqueror. I think it's better. It's going to deal a lot more damage the longer the game goes on. Press the attack is more snowbally. If you get a couple of early kills, you can deal more damage early game with this, but this is just going to come in way more handy in late game team fights, that kind of stuff. It also just scales very well with Wits and that kind of stuff to give you more healing. So I would go this in a lot of my games. You can try Press the Attack, see which one you would like more. I have done a lot of videos in lower elo on Press the Attack. It might be better there, but I just enjoy Conqueror more. It just gives you a lot more sustain. There's only one real option here, Overheal. Don't really need this at all unless you're going for like a crazy build, but Triumph is usually the most picked rune unless you're going Manamune build. It's gonna be Presence of Mind then, but Triumph in most of your games. Here you have, you can switch it up a bit. I go Bloodline in a lot of my games because, again, it scales very well. It gives you lifesteal when you kill enemies, and it's actually a lot of lifesteal, so you're going to have a lot of survivability when, like, taking objectives, Dragon and Baron, clearing your camps, and also in fights. If the enemy has a lot of CC, as I just talked about, like a Nautilus, Thrash, support, then they have like a Senna ADC, like something, an ADC with some CC and then a mid laner with CC. Tenacity is good, it's a good option. Or if you just want to snowball and end the game fast, Alacrity, I would usually just build Bloodline or Tenacity. So just keep it a Bloodline. Here you can switch it up a bit. If the enemies don't have a lot of tanks, and you feel like you're gonna deal a lot of damage, Coop is the better option because you deal more damage to lower health targets. If you think you're gonna get bursted really hard, but they still don't have a lot of tanks, last stand is good. It's also pretty good when you come out of your ult because you're gonna deal more damage while you're low health. Or if the enemies have a lot of tanks with health, not armor, just health, go cut down. If you go cut down, you can't really rush a Black Cleaver though, because you're gonna be giving yourself more health, so the cut down scaling won't be as big. So let's see, deal 5, yeah. So you can read that. The more health you have, the lesser damage this is gonna deal. So ideally, just delay your Black Cleaver as much as possible if you're even gonna build it. So I'd usually just go Coop. I almost never go last stand though, because you have to be confident that you're gonna deal more damage. Right here you have a few options. This is what I usually go. Nimbus Cloak is super strong. Into Water Walking, you're gonna have a lot of scuttle fights with Kindred, especially on level 3 with the 50/50s. On these scuttles, this is gonna help you a lot. It just gives you movement speed, so it helps you chase down enemies like throughout the whole game, and it gives you AD in this case in the river. It's actually, the movement speed also matters a lot, honestly. If you don't want to go Water Walking, if you want to scale Gathering Storm, it's also good. I've done this a couple of times. It just gives you more AD the longer the game goes on, so you'll see it actually starts to add up pretty nicely. 10 minutes you gained 5 AD, but if the game goes like past 30 minutes, it goes to 40, you'll see the ramp up is pretty big. You're not gonna have a lot of 60-minute games, so you can just scratch that, but 40 and 50 minutes sometimes happens. So if you have a feeling you're gonna go to late game, Gathering Storm is good. Absolute Focus can also work. If you're high on health, you'll deal more damage, but like on an ADC, it's not that good. So always go Nimbus Cloak, I would say, if you're going Sorcery second and Water Walking / Nimbus or Gathering Storm. Some other page that I've seen and that I've used myself is Sudden Impact. You're gonna gain lethality after you use a dash. In this case on Kindred, it's gonna be the Q. You're actually spamming your Q a lot, right? So you're gonna gain a lot of lethality. And then after the Sudden Impact, I usually go Relentless Hunter just for the movement speed to snowball, be faster at the objectives, gank faster, that kind of stuff. Can go Ravenous Hunter, but I feel like Wit's End and Conk is enough healing. So if you want to go Domination second, this is probably the only page or the only 2 runes you can go. But like almost all my games, if you check OPGG, it's gonna be Nimbus Cloak with Water Walking, because you can never go wrong with that. Always want to go attack speed on the glyphs, a adaptive or attack speed here, and adaptive here. This is situational, so armor isn't really that strong unless the enemy team is like full armor, like 5 AD champs with assassins, that kind of stuff. I'd go armor. But if the enemy have like 2 AP, and especially an AP jungler, let's say Elise, Echo, those kind of picks, MR is gonna help you a lot because you can actually duel them without you taking a whole lot of damage. And if they have a lot of mixed damage, let's say 3 APs with 2 ADs, health is actually pretty good because it's the best scaling rune based on level. So the higher level you are, the more health you're gonna gain. So yeah, I would usually stay away from armor. It doesn't matter because of the jungle camps. Like people say, jungle camps deal physical damage, so armor is gonna help you stay more healthy. On Kindred, if you know how to kite the camps, you're not gonna take any damage anyway, almost. So usually go MR or the health. So that's gonna be it for the runes and the items. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you have any suggestions on videos, that kind of stuff, I'll gladly listen to your opinions. And I'll see you guys next time.